Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 13th of January, comes to you from London. The dollar index just holding its bullish position long term. We've been flat the last few months, well, really the last year almost, and slightly trending down over the last few months, so showing up on the daily chart. Short term, we are bullish, and we've got a new upside target here. So it looks like we might see a stronger week for the dollar based on the charts there. Looking at the Eurodollar, we see here we're bearish in that short-term chart, trying to come through back to bullish. Medium term, we're bullish. We have three upside targets and a downside target, so a fairly mixed picture there for the euro, but it does look like it's recovering in the short term against the dollar. Against the yen, we're seeing the dollar is actually looking stronger here as well. Long term, we look like we're making a transition against the yen. Medium term, we're bullish, and short term, we're bullish. And the yen is normally the risk-on trade, so weaker yen, we're seeing the risk trade being less prevalent with the geopolitical China trade talks coming to some kind of conclusion, and the Middle East situation looking better than it was a week ago. Against the sterling, we're seeing the dollar sterling has had a resurgence against the dollar, but hitting some long-term resistance here now on the lagging line. Medium term, we're bullish, but short term, we have fallen away, and indications today that UK interest rates may see a further fall has put sterling a little bit under pressure, and we're seeing that with the euro as well on the short-term chart where they're bearish, and against the Swiss franc we're also down 0.2% today, so we're seeing that coming through as well. Taking a look at Bitcoin, we see here now on the Bitcoin chart, we are still in territory where we're down 1.2% today, just not managing to get into that long-term bullish position. Clearly, we've got the downtrend here, and we are just still in uncertain times with Bitcoin. We've got upside targets and a downside target not activated, so quite a hard call. US stock markets, on the other hand, are looking bullish. We see the S&P 500 index, that's looking bullish above the cloud on all three time frames, and the NASDAQ 100 also looking bullish on all three time frames with upside targets. This was covered in our long-term report earlier last week, and looking at the Dow Jones index also up significantly, nudging those new all-time highs. The Russell 2000 is down this morning, so we're just seeing that the smaller caps are not performing as well, and we saw also the futures obviously heralding that the US market would open up today, which is what we're seeing. Taking a look at the UK market, little changed on the top 100 index, but we are still bullish on all three time frames, and the mid-caps and the 250 we're also seeing is holding on to bullish. The DAX in Germany is actually down slightly, down today, so just falling back into bearish territory there on that shorter term chart, and the CAC Quarante also just struggling a little bit there today, down 0.2%. Taking a look in Asia, we saw that Japan was up 0.4%, weaker yen helping there a little bit, and the Hang Seng was up over 1%, so we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence here, looking like we're going to cross into bullish territory on that longer term chart. And the Shanghai Composite, which has been uncertain, up another 0.75% as the trade talks near, and we're seeing here for the first time in a good couple of years we're starting to look bullish on the Shanghai index. The S&P Sensex index up 0.6% in India. That index still looking pretty bullish, aiming for new highs there as well. And the Aussie market we're seeing was down slightly overnight, so just not performing quite as well, but still bullish on all three time frames. Brent crude has been more heavily hit today with the Middle East situation looking a little bit more rosy. That has the jump we saw in oil prices is now putting us into bearish territory, and WTI much the same picture here. So we are seeing here again that bearishness just creeping in on WTI, and we've got a new downside targets there. US NatGas is down 1.3%. The charts have been looking more bullish on NatGas previously, but we are just seeing that pullback today, so quite a significant pullback there on the US NatGas chart. Taking a look at gold, gold actually has been sitting around that 1550 mark, having nudged 1600 the last week or two, but we are just coming back. We are still holding bullish on the medium-term chart, but of course bearish. We are short-term bearish, and silver is also down 0.8% today. So silver looking less strong as well. So we are just seeing that kicking in. US 10-year yields we're seeing here. Interest rates in the US were sitting at 1.86%, just struggling really to break above that 190 level. We have been basing on US interest rates, so that has been helpful. And on the medium term chart, we are bullish, so we are seeing that. And short term, we are bullish as well. And a target to 189, so about 2% upside. We might see a rise in yields this week. The German Bund, we're seeing sitting at 170 on the Bund future. Again, just seeing that sell off over the last several months. We are just holding short-term bullish, but medium-term bearish there. Taking a look at the individual stocks now. This data coming from Thomson Reuters Icon, or if you're using Metastock, the Metastock Zenith system provides the same level of data if you're a private user. Here we're using Yahoo Finance data. It's a very good free data source into Updata, and these charts here running on Yahoo. I've got my long-term, my medium-term, and my these are all daily charts in the bottom windows and my weekly charts here. Here we see a sea of green in the US market, Europe turning red, and Asia mostly green. So we are seeing just there the effect of the market. Looking at the Dow today, we're seeing here we've got the Coca-Cola company. They're the best performer, up 1%. Intel and Visa following not far behind. Banks been a little bit more heavily hit. We've got JP Morgan Chase. They're the worst performer, down 1.3%. There we see the live prices coming in from Yahoo Finance. And here we see the relative performance versus the Dow Jones Index. So that's quite key as well. Taking a look at the NASDAQ 100, the best performer today, if we just click on the percentage change, we see here it's Microlibra. Tesla, they're continuing their re-rating. They've had a really good run. The last really just flown in the last few months from a low of 200 up to 500. They've really massively just re-rated. So Tesla doing really, really well there. And if we look at the downside, we've got quite a few stocks down here. 4% down on Seattle Genetics. But none of the big names in that list. Looking at the Aussie market overnight, the Aussie market we saw Afterpay touch, they were up 4.5%. That chart still continuing to look pretty good. And if we look at the downside, Virgin Money been hit there, down 3.7% in the Aussie market, so that's not so good. Looking at the Nifty 50, we see here in India, the best performer in the Nifty was Infosys. They were up 4.8%, so they're really powering ahead there, and that chart's still looking pretty good. And then on the downside in India, we've got Yes Bank continuing to be a laggard. They've had a terrible run, and we see here on the relative there, the relative performance underperforming the Dow Jones Index by more than 80%. Taking a quick look at Europe now. In the UK today, BAE Systems, the best performer. Severn Trent, the next best performer, up 2.5%. So we are just seeing here quite a re-rating there as well for Severn Trent, and that relative showing the outperformance since the beginning of last year of 10%. So looking pretty strong there. And if we look at the downside, NMC Health, the worst performer, down 5%. Here we see the live pricing coming in from Yahoo Finance again. Taking a quick look at the 250 now. The best performer for today is Ferex Pro. They're up 7.3%. That's quite a big move for the chart, but not enough to really change the picture from bearish. And Pennon Group we're seeing here is up 6.7%. The worst performer today on the FTSE 250 list, down the bottom here, Man Group down 3.5%, Stagecoach down 2.8%. So we are seeing some quite big falls as well. So quite a mixed picture. Last of all, in Europe, if we look at the European majors, this is the Eurostoxx 50. Airbus is the best performer, up 0.76%. But we can see here most stocks falling away this afternoon. We've got Amber British, the InBev, the brewer. They're down nearly 2%. Banco Bilbao down nearly 2%. Quite a lot of stocks, especially in the German market, being hit quite badly. The chart just struggling there. Again, the live pricing coming in from Yahoo. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.